Hi, MOS 4472 team. In this video, I'm going to take you through Chapter 7. Let me share my screen with you and let's get started. Oh, wow, I have a lot of things open. Here we go. Okay. Okay. In Chapter 7, we are going to talk about emerging and disruptive technologies. Emerging technologies are technologies that have the potential to be disruptive, but they have not been widely adopted, while disruptive technologies are widely adopted and change the way businesses function. So our chapter preview, we are going to answer the following questions. What is the difference between emerging and disruptive technologies? We're going to talk about which technology innovations are currently disruptive businesses. How can robotic process automation increase efficiency in business processes? What are the fundamentals of blockchain? This is going to help the research group that is going to present blockchain to us in a few weeks. And how is blockchain influencing the accounting profession? Our learning objectives. Our first objective is to explain how businesses identify risks and opportunities associated with emerging and disruptive technologies. Technological advances. Businesses must consider technological advances in relation to 1. Disruption of business activities and operations versus the potential for increased efficiencies and competitive advantage. So you have to make sure that you are on board with new technologies, because if you're not, maybe your products go obsolete. For example, the classic case I always think about is Apple and BlackBerry. BlackBerry was a market leader before Apple came up with the touchscreen phones. BlackBerry didn't see them as a threat or competition, and unfortunately started the touch technology a little bit too late, preferring to keep with their traditional keypad, like the keyboard. And unfortunately, that led to their decline. So it's really important for organizations to monitor the market. Polaroid cameras versus digital cameras, the list goes on and on, right? Netflix versus DVDs, CDs versus digital downloads and programs like iTunes and Spotify. Identifications of risks associated with technology and integrating it into the existing control environment. So it's important to integrate new technologies into the existing environment. Here's the Rogers adaptation curve. I'm sure you've seen this in a marketing or even a strategy class. And this is how companies adopt products, services. In our case, we're talking about adopting new technologies. We have innovators who traditionally make up only 2.5% of the market, and they join technologies immediately. They're into it immediately. They're categorized as risk takers and technology enthusiasts with resources to innovate and absorb financial failures. The next group are early adopters. They make up about 13.5% of the population. They join as soon as they see any benefit. So they look at the innovators, see whether or not they're receiving a benefit. If they do see a benefit, they will join. And these early adopters are more risk averse, but not afraid to try new things and report on their success. The next group, which is our early majority, makes up about 34% of the market. And this group joins where there is a widespread business benefit, and they focus on using technology as business solutions and allow technology to mature before investing. Next huge group are our late majority, who also make up 34% of the market. And they join once help, support, and knowledge exist. So they really look at innovators, early adopters, and the early majority. If they see that there is success, then they will join as well. They have a low risk tolerance, prefer to observe other companies, and gain clarity about the technology before adoption. Lastly, we have our laggers, and that's about 16% of the market, and they join only when they must. So they don't want change, they don't like change, they join because they have to. Last, to adopt a new technology, they're classified as traditional or risk-averse companies. Okay, differentiating emerging versus disruptive technologies. When a new technology enters the market but is not yet regularly used by companies, it's called an emerging technology. And as more companies adopt, the innovation becomes a disruptive technology, which changes the way business functions. For example, online businesses, right? Many companies kept to their brick and mortars until they saw that, you know what, there is a market, there's a customer base, there's a need. We will have our brick and mortar stores, but we're also going to have a website where we can sell our products online. So that's an example. In the beginning, online shopping was an emerging technology. As time went by and the demand became proven, it became a disruptive technology. Disruptive technologies force companies to adapt their operations to stay competitive. So that is the key. They force organizations to change. It's not that companies adopt these new technologies because they want to, they are forced to. And at this point in time when they're forced to, it's kind of like a do or die. That's when it's a disruptive technology. So technology goes from emerging to disruptive. So here is the time cycle of technology. At the beginning, it's emerging. If it does grow and gain popularity, it becomes a disruptive technology until everyone adopts it and it just becomes status quo and a widely used technology. Risk and risk mitigation. There are different risks relating to emerging and disruptive technologies. One is business disruptions due to integration issues with existing systems. Another one could be financial losses from investments if the technology fails. So more risk-averse companies wait to make sure that the technology is proven because they don't want to incur the costs. Then there might be security vulnerabilities due to unknown variables in the technology. If the technology isn't widely used, then there might be risks associated to it. And then there also might be regulatory risks due to new or undefined regulatory requirements. As businesses change, there might not be rules or laws governing these new changes, and there might be risks as a result. Teams that manage technology risk and controls. We have 3 different departments. We have internal audit, we have our enterprise risk management team, and then we have our emerging technology COE. Internal audit manages technology by being trusted advisors. They always provide pre-implementations reviews. They do post-implementation audits and reviews, and they report the information and results they get from these reviews to top management. Whereas our enterprise risk management team identifies risks, selects risk responses, and manages the organization's risk appetite. In contrast, our emerging technology COE team assesses project feasibility and has the subject matter expertise on what's coming in the market. Internal audit. When auditing emerging technologies, internal auditors should understand which emerging and disruptive technologies are being used. So they have to not only look inside the company, they have to understand the external market. They have to identify how these technologies can disrupt current processes. So how do they link to the company and its processes and procedures? They have to remain professionally skeptical about management's risk assessments. So they have to do their own risk assessments, assess how these technologies will impact current controls. Do new controls need to be adopted and changed? And then they have to identify control gaps and recommend new control management can implement. So as new technologies come into place, you need new controls to make sure that the risks are mitigated and controlled. Our enterprise risk management or ERM team, who are they? The ERM team is in a strategic position to focus on emerging and disruptive technology risk because of their expertise in risk assessment and management. So they're the company that's part of the company that manages risk. And as a result, they can look at technology risk. They can work with information technology or IT departments to strategize and approve emerging technologies that the company wants to implement. So before a technology is implemented, the ERM team should review it to make sure that the risk levels are under control and any possible risks that can be mitigated at a low cost are mitigated. Then we have our Emerging Technology Center of Excellence, or COE for short. A Center of Excellence, COE, is a specialized team in a company dedicated to provide unique support, usually technological, to the entire business. So this team is specifically focused on supporting technology. And Emerging Technology COE's primary objective is to evaluate emerging and disruptive technologies to see how they may fit into current operations. Okay, let's move on to learning objective number 2. Identify business opportunities provided by disruptive technologies. So there's risks with disruptive technologies, but there are also opportunities. They provide room for growth, expansion, a different way to visualize your business. So let's talk about Internet of Things, or IoT. This is going to be one of the research topics. So I'm just going to give you kind of a brief appetizer of what the research presentation will be about. Internet of Things, or IoT, is the connection of electronic devices, the things, to the internet through sensors, softwares, and other technologies. The IoT has 2 distinct business impacts. One, IoT products that are consumer-facing, and then you also have IoT products used in business operation. So you can use IoT for consumer experience, or you can also use it to assist in your business, your processes, your procedures, find efficiencies. Let's talk about some consumer-facing IoT products. Examples are appliances. You have smart refrigerators, washers, dryers, even light bulbs. So manufacturers leverage big data collected from consumer IoT products to design new products, creating marketing opportunities. When it comes to vehicles, you have sensor monitoring activities in personal vehicles. So you can see how safe a driver someone is, what goes on when they're driving, how far they're going, etc. And manufacturers can leverage big data collected from these consumer IoT products to design new products with more features and create marketing opportunities to better target people. For example, they might notice that owners of a specific car, let's say a Porsche, for example, like to go to the theater or a symphony, do those kind of events, so they can do ads that show people in those types of events. Then we have IoT wearables such as Fitbits and Apple Watches, and life insurance companies can use this big data collecting from this wearables to monitor heart rate, calories burned, quality of sleep, and more. This information can then be used to estimate an individual's longevity to calculate a premium for the individual's lifestyle. So rather than having, general insurance premiums can be modified based on a specific person and the data collected about that person and their lifestyle. Here are some examples of our business operating IoT products. So we have manufacturing machinery and safety equipment. Using sensors and big data, organizations can predict machinery downtime, monitor production efficiencies and capacities, send alerts when storage tanks are full or when safety equipment needs maintenance. So this is done automatically based on prior data. With business vehicles, you can have sensor monitoring activities in delivery trucks. Organizations can use sensors and big data on corporate vehicles to optimize delivery routes based on prior traffic conditions, and they can provide GPS tracking to consumers or even the business. This can reduce errors. There can be alerts when vehicles need maintenance, and they can fully monitor supply chain, including delivery. With IoT wearables, such as smart glasses and health trackers, organizations can update items employees wear, such as manufacturing safety glasses that include sensors or extended reality. They can use health trackers to monitor air quality and employee health metrics in a high-risk job like mining to hopefully minimize death and injury. So here are risks related to the big 5 V's of big data. We talked about the 5 V's in a previous chapter. One of the V's is volume, which means there's huge amounts of data. Another V is variety, which is different formats of data from various sources. We've talked about structured and unstructured data in this class. Then value, you need to extract useful data and information for decision-making from that data. We have velocity, which is this high speed of accumulated data, and veracity, which is inconsistencies and uncertainties in the data. The next disruptive technology we're going to look at is extended reality, or XR. And XR technology takes 3 platforms: augmented reality, which puts something in some virtual thing in the real world; mixed reality, which has some real reality and some graphics; and then virtual reality is you are fully submersed into a virtual world. So there is a continuum from most real to the least realistic. AR, MI, and VR. Here is a visual showing where they stand when it comes to reality versus virtual unreal images. Augmented reality is reality with digital images overlaid. Our mixed reality is a hybrid combination of real and virtual objects coexisting in real time. And then virtual reality is full immersion into a virtual world with virtual objects. AR versus VR. So the world in AR is reality with just digital images, and the devices used to for AR include phones, tablets, wearable glasses, anything that can project a digital image over a live camera view of the real world. In contrast, when we are talking about virtual reality, the world is virtual. There's no element of our real world except the human being who's real. The images are digital, and devices used for virtual reality usually are head-mounted displays or HMDs that users place on their heads to view these optical displays. Think of a video game, for example. Extended reality AR examples when we're thinking about augmented realities that are customer bases. You have Pokemon Go, you have shopping AR environments that project a product into a consumer's home, and various Snapchat filters that you put on yourself. So Pokemon Go collects personal data, includes calories, likely burned during a play session, the distance you travel, promotions engaged in, the location data such as place of work or restaurants visited. So GPS data is used by the app. And all of this information can be used for marketing, future product design, and other customer metric-driven analysis. Augmented realities can also be used by businesses. Businesses may provide employees with wearable glasses, phones, or tablets that can create training environments that partially immerse the employee in a scenario, project information onto an existing product or machine in manufacturing, or support product design by displacing prototypes in reality. Now, extended reality VR examples when we're thinking of consumer-facing virtual reality. VR, user can sail down the canals of Venice or physically fight the Joker while defending Gotham City in a game. And while they do this, the HMD manufacturer and video game companies collect their usage data. So they get to know their consumer better, what they like, what they don't like, what makes them play longer, etc. Virtual reality can also be used in businesses. Businesses are using virtual reality for training employees. And one of the most popular uses of virtual reality today is to respond to cyber attacks, security threats, and other situations that are hard to replicate in reality. So you can use virtual reality to simulate a situation, and then employees can react to that situation. Organizations can also track consumer gazes in retail stores to determine the appropriate areas to display products that grab consumer attention. You can do virtual product design and testing and data visualization immersions. Gamification is another disruptive technology, and gamification is the merger of video game principles and real world simulation, where the user can achieve badges and earn points while they learn new skills they might need on the job. So examples of gamification, badge achievements. A website like LinkedIn uses badges, and basically the opportunities. You can promote positive activities in the workplace by rewarding employees, for example, completing training, engaging in health and wellness activities, meeting milestones. The benefit of that, it's not costly, and if it drives behavior, fantastic. You can also create video game environments, create scenarios that are virtual or real for employees to engage in, and this can involve executing daily tasks, responding to high-stress scenarios, and earning points for completion. So the key with gamification is that you're earning points or a badge or something. So it makes work more like a game. And the principle behind that is people enjoy playing games, so maybe it can make work a little more fun. Then we have autonomous things, or AUT. And autonomous things are physical devices controlled by computers using complex algorithms. There's two types of autonomous things that we're hearing and seeing a lot of, and those are drones and robots. So let's talk about drones first. Using autonomous or semi-autonomous robots to monitor crops for weed contamination or nutrient deficiencies. You can perform physical inventory counts or land measures for an audit. I believe your textbook discussed PwC using drones for some mining audits. Review safety regulation and compliance on the construction side with a drone rather than having a compliance officer come. And then you have package delivery such as Amazon Prime Air. And then robots, you can use autonomous robots to conduct security checks in a parking deck, carry out manufacturing processes, deliver medication in hospitals, and room service to guests in hotels. More and more restaurants are using robots to bring the food to people's tables rather than waiters and waitresses. Robots can also collaborate with humans to complete tasks. PwC calls these cobots. They handle warehouse fulfillment tasks such as fetching, monitoring inventory, packing, and inspecting. Here is a picture of the Amazon Scout, and it's basically a small tank that drives on sidewalks at walking speed to make delivery. So rather than having a person make a delivery, you have this little machine coming to your house. I'm not really sure how I feel about that, but I'm not a fan of Amazon. I do not use Amazon. But I'm not teaching you business ethics, so I will leave that discussion for an ethics class. Now let's look at our learning objective 3, which is to apply the principles of robotic process automation, RPA, to accounting use cases. Business process automation. Companies are implementing robotic process automation and artificial intelligence into business process automation, which is the process of managing information, data, costs, resources, and investments by increasing productivity through automating key business processes with computing technology. The key to this is that most of the robotic process automation occurs on highly repetitive tasks. So rather than have a human do something, you have your robot take over. Types of automation, we have robotic process automation, which involves software that can be programmed and managed easily using a drag and drop interface that does not require coding knowledge. Whereas our artificial intelligence, or AI, involves computer systems that are trained to perform tasks that typically require high human intelligence. So with AI, the AI is actually making decisions, whereas with a robotic process automation, you're writing more like if-then scenarios. If this happens, then you do this. If this happens, then you do that. Whereas AI decisions are being made and the computer is actually working autonomously. With AI, it uses complex algorithms to learn and solve problems without human intervention. Differences between RPA and AI. Robotic process automation, as I mentioned, it follows pre-programmed rules, where artificial intelligence simulates human decision-making. RPA is smart enough to follow orders, whereas AI selects self-appropriate responses. RPA is ideal for repetitive tasks. AI is ideal for eliminating human efforts in complex analysis. RPA initially programmed tasks never change, so RPA does the same thing over and over and over again. Whereas with AI, initially programmed tasks evolve through self-learning, so the AI is constantly learning. Logic behind RPA. RPA, as I mentioned before, uses conditional statements in the form if this, then that to pre-program rules or decisions into software. They are used in a variety of programming situations besides RPA, such as data analytics, systems and software development, and web development. And RPA's conditional statement's biggest limitation is that it cannot deviate from these pre-programmed orders. So RPA is bound by the orders that are programmed into it. It's not learning and evolving like AI. So here's our RPA conditional statement. If trigger, so a scenario happens, then this decision occurs. So for example, if your car senses rain, the windshield wipers start swishing. So here, RPA conditional statement example. If it is this date, then you're gonna pay the bill. Here's another example. If your phone connects to Wi-Fi, then it means you're home and the lights in your house will come on. Here is a conditional statement with an and statement. So it's looking for multiple conditions to be met. So if your phone connects to Wi-Fi and it's after 6 p.m., the lights will go on. The logic behind that is if it's before 6 p.m., the sun will be out. There's no need for lights. Here is an if and an or statement that can be programmed. If the RPA senses your phone and it's after 6 p.m. or it's cloudy, so there's no daylight, then the lights come on. Here is an RPA statement with an else. So this is when the RPA is doing two different things. So if your phone connects to Wi-Fi and it's 6 p.m. or it's cloudy, then the lights come on and your door unlocks. Else, so otherwise your door's only unlocking, the lights don't come on. Accounting use cases. To be feasible, a proposed RPA use case must fit into the rigid structure of the rule-based programming RPA uses. Ideal projects and processes are routine, consistent, digital, time-consuming, and frequently performed. Accounting use case examples. So if you receive an email that has a attachment, then you would open the network file, save the file, open a system interface, select a new invoice, copy the key points from the file you uploaded, paste the key data points into interface, and then close file and close interface. So this is a sample that would eliminate an accounts payable processing time with the events that usually an AP clerk would do. You can have your RPA system do that. Another example is an else if statement. So if you receive an email and no attachment, then you would open the email, select reply, open text, email text, copy a specified text, paste the text into body, send email, close email. Else, like if this doesn't happen, then you do nothing because there's no email. Here's another example that will let you read. Creating efficiencies and opportunities. Robotics and automation won't replace the need for accountants, but they are shifting in the way accountant works and the skills needed for the job. Hence, you are all now taking this DA-AIS course. Companies are hiring well-rounded accounting students with core accounting knowledge who also understand technology, use cases, and data fundamentals. Now let's talk about identifying the fundamental principles and technologies of blockchain. There is going to be a research presentation on blockchain, so this is just an introduction about blockchain. The group is expected to go further. What is blockchain? Well, a blockchain system enables the recording of digital transaction packaged in blocks that form a sequence like a chain in a peer-to-peer network. It is a disruptive technology for the accounting profession with significant potential for widespread use in business. So a blockchain overview, what occurs is someone requests a transaction. The requested transaction is broadcasted on a peer-to-peer network. Keep in mind that there is no main person. It's a very decentralized peer structure. You don't have like a leader or a regulator. It's all done on a network of equals. So once the transaction is broadcasted on your peer-to-peer network, that consists of computers that are known as nodes. So each computer is a node. The peer-to-peer network of nodes validates the transaction and the user status using known algorithms. So you have encryptions and decryptions. Once verified, the transaction is combined with other transactions to create a new block of data for the ledger. The new block of data is then added to the existing blockchain in a way that is permanent and unalterable. So remember that unlike accounting data in our double entry system, once something is verified by the peer-to-peer network, it is unalterable and permanent. You can't delete it. You can't alter it. It's there forever. Once the block is added to the blockchain, the transaction is complete. One of the main uses of blockchain is cryptocurrency. The interesting about cryptocurrency is that no intrinsic value in that it is not redeemable for another commodity. It has no physical form and exists only on this network. And its supply is not determined by a central bank, and the network is completely decentralized. So there's no centralization. The basics of blockchain. Blockchain is a type of distributive ledger with essential underlying technologies. It is a sequence of blocks containing unchangeable ledgers of transaction. So it's a sequence, and you keep adding and adding to the sequence. Each block in the chain has a logical relationship with the preceding block. These blocks of data are stored on nodes, which are the computers, laptops, or servers of participants in the network who choose to be miners. So those are the people that are actively participating. You can use an app to, let's say, buy cryptocurrency without actually being a miner and having a node on this network. Miners, who are miners? Well, miners create the ledgers of transactions and chain blocks by using their computing power, so those nodes on the network, to solve the mathematical encryption puzzles that secure the transaction. They are the people who own the computing power that does mining or verification of transactions. And mining involves a huge amount of power. Here is an example of our blockchain. You have a network with all these nodes and all the participants. Let's talk about cryptology. Cryptology is the science of using a secret code for secure data communication, which involves encryption and decryption, and blockchain uses cryptology. What's encryption? It's the process of using an algorithm to encode a plain text message like a readable text and to convert the plain text to something that is seemingly meaningless called ciphertext. So ciphering and deciphering, right? Decryption is the reverse process of converting the encrypted message back to its original form by decoding it so that the recipient can read it. Here's the example. You have plain text. You use an encryption key to turn it into ciphertext. Then on the other side, you have another key that decrypts it and turns it back to legible plain text. Here's a blockchain use case. You have Alice who wants to buy a product from Bob using Bitcoin. She connects to the peer-to-peer network. She uses her secret key and signs a message with the Bitcoin amount and Bob's address requesting the transaction. The transaction request by Alice is bundled into a block with other transactions in the blockchain. While that's happening, the first miner to validate the new block for the blockchain receives a portion of the Bitcoin award. The network of nodes validates Alice's transaction using an algorithm in a processing called mining, and the block is broadcast to all mining nodes in the network, and it gets created into the blockchain. And once it is validated and put into the blockchain, the transaction is complete and the new block is added, and it's permanent and can't be modified. And Bob will receive his Bitcoin from Alice once this process has occurred. Blockchain ledgers. There are 3 types of blockchain ledgers. You have centralized ledgers where all participants have access to a central ledger. You have distributive ledgers where all participants receive an electronic copy of the ledger. And then decentralized ledgers that have groups of users with access to hubs that have copies of the same ledger. And here's an illustration of the different ledgers, centralized ledgers. All the nodes access one ledger, what's in the middle. Decentralized, you have all these different copies of the ledger, and different individuals connect to different nodes, and all the ledgers are connected together. And then distributed ledger copies are distributed networks of nodes. And then you see each node has its copy of the ledger. Here's an example of a decentralized ledger. Alice is in Detroit. She transfers $1,000 to the banks. The banks then convert the money to South African currency, and it is provided to Bob in Cape Town. The fundamental principles of blockchain. The 3 interrelated fundamental principles of blockchain technology are that it's decentralized, it's transparent, and it's immutability. So decentralization eliminates the need for an intermediary or a central authority to process, validate, or authenticate transactions because they are authenticated by the miners in the blockchain. Decentralization of power leads to more transparency, which in turn leads to immutability. Types of blockchain systems that exist. There are 3 main types of blockchains. Public blockchain that's open to everyone. Private blockchain that is a blockchain within, let's say, a certain organization, country, etc. And then you have consortium blockchain. Bigger network equals lower risks, it's harder for malicious parties to gain consent in a large network where more malicious parties would need to be involved. So that's the benefit of a blockchain, is that it decreases risk because you need this consensus to validate all these transactions. Now let's talk about and explain blockchain's relevance to accounting professionals. Evolving career opportunities. The accounting profession is evolving in the response to the use of blockchain in business. For example, when it comes to record keeping, hash strings can enable auditors to identify whether a record has been modified through blockchain. Blockchain could eventually replace the double entry accounting system. Blockchain would have to be adopted on a huge global scale to replace the double entry general ledger accounting system that companies currently use, because all transactions would have to be validated, and once validated, they're not changeable. So you don't need those debits, credits, auditing, etc. Improving data quality. So blockchain would improve data quality because of data integrity. So data is immutable once entered into the blockchain ledger and can't be changed or deleted. Whereas with traditional ledgers, you have the risk of subsequent manipulation because employees can change entries. Data retention. Each node can potentially back up the entire blockchain ledger to provide multiple copies. So there's really no fear of loss or being offline. Whereas with our general ledgers, backups are more restricted. When it comes to data validity, for it to become a part of the blockchain, miners need to verify validation of transactions by a majority consensus prior to entry. So you have multiple people checking and validating that things are correct. Whereas with journal ledgers, your verification of transactions may be limited to a single person. You don't have this group of peer-to-peer miners. When it comes to data transparency, a blockchain is widely distributed, while a traditional ledger is not widely distributed. It's within the company's books. When it comes to data security, a majority of participants must collude for fraud to happen, whereas in regular companies, you can have a single fraudster jeopardize the whole system. Okay, that is it. I hope you found this lecture helpful and interesting. I will see you in class. Have a lovely day, night, whatever time you're watching this video, and see you soon. Bye, everyone.